nobody broke in, no password was stolen. And still, one of the most valuable things an American AI company owns may have walked right out the front door. 25,000 fake accounts, nearly 29 million conversations. All of it aimed at a single target. That target was Claude, Anthropic's AI, and one of the few models good enough to rival OpenAI. Who is accused of copying it? One of the biggest tech firms in China, Alibaba. Let me lay out the actual claim, because the details matter. In a letter to the US Senate Banking Committee dated June 10th, Anthropic said operators tied to Alibaba's Qwen AI lab ran 28.8 million exchanges with Claude. They used about 25,000 fraudulent accounts to do it. Anthropic calls it the largest attack of its kind it has ever disclosed. The public only learned about it 2 weeks later, when Bloomberg broke the story and CNBC confirmed it. Now, one word there is doing a lot of work: claims. This is an accusation. It is not a proven case. The numbers come from Anthropic, and they have not been independently verified. Alibaba has not publicly admitted to any of it. Hold on to that though. The story is real. So, what were they actually after? Not small talk. The campaign went straight for Claude's most valuable skills: writing code, reasoning through a hard problem step by step, carrying a long, messy task all the way to the end. And it moved fast. Anthropic puts the whole thing in a single 6 week window, from late April to early June. To understand the trick, you need one word: distillation. On its own, it is completely normal, completely legal. That is what makes this so slippery. Picture a brilliant professor and a student. The student cannot absorb everything the professor knows. Instead, they ask question after question and study the answers until they start to think the same way. In AI, the professor is a huge, expensive model. The student is a small, cheap one. Labs do this to their own models all the time. It's how you get a fast, lightweight AI that still feels smart. The trouble starts when you do it to someone else's model without asking. That is what Anthropic is describing. You point your questions at a rival's AI. You collect millions of answers. Then you train your own system on them. Building a frontier model from scratch can cost hundreds of millions of dollars. This skips that bill entirely. You let someone else do the hard part. Then you copy the homework. So, how do you catch it when nobody broke in? The answer is sneakier than it sounds. To Claude, a copying question and an honest question look exactly the same. No alarm goes off. Anthropic went looking for patterns instead. They studied the timing of the messages and the shape of the prompts, then watched how the answers were being collected across 25,000 accounts. Those patterns lined up, and they traced back, the company says, to infrastructure linked to Alibaba's Qwen lab. Every AI company is now stuck in the same trap. The obvious defense is to block access by location. Alibaba is in China. Anthropic already bans access from China. But a fake account with the right setup looks like an ordinary user anywhere on Earth. The only way to fully shut this down is to stop letting people use the model at all, which is the one thing an AI company can never do. That is the entire business. There is a second danger here, and it has nothing to do with money. When you copy a model this way, you can take the skills and leave the safety behind. Anthropic spends a fortune teaching Claude to refuse certain things: how to build a weapon, how to write malicious code. A clone trained only on the answers can inherit the raw intelligence and walk straight past those refusals. The cheaper a model is, the more people end up using it. So the version with no breaks is often the one that spreads the widest. That is why Anthropic is calling this a national security problem and not just theft. If this feels familiar, it should. Back in February, Anthropic named 3 other Chinese labs for the same thing: DeepSeek, Moonshot, Minimax, together around 16 million exchanges across 24,000 accounts. The Alibaba campaign, if the numbers hold, is nearly double that by itself. And it is the first time Anthropic has named a company this big. An operation that size does not run by accident. It takes real money and coordination. Forget the two companies for a second. Look at the bigger fight. For years, America's main weapon against China's AI was hardware. Choke off the advanced chips, starve the data centers. Distillation sidesteps all of it. If you can quietly ask a finished American model 29 million questions, you do not need the chips that built it. You just need a way in. OpenAI made almost the same accusation against DeepSeek earlier this year. This is not a one off. The thing worth guarding is no longer just the silicon, it is the answers the model gives back. Strangest of all, what Anthropic is describing might not even be illegal. There is no clear law against quietly querying a public AI millions of times. The rules for this kind of attack basically do not exist yet. That is starting to change. Senators are drafting penalties for foreign firms caught doing it. A bill is moving through the House, and the White House had already warned months earlier that this exact thing was a national security risk. Anthropic says the campaign happened anyway, after the warning. A fight this big with no rulebook tends to write the rulebook. Now it gets genuinely awkward for Anthropic. At almost the exact moment the company was asking the government for protection, that same government was clamping down on it. A separate order, days later, forced Anthropic to cut off access to 2 of its most advanced models on national security grounds. The company is now fighting on 2 fronts at once, begging Washington to shield its technology, while Washington decides where that technology is even allowed to go. And Alibaba is not sitting quietly either. It is suing the US Defense Department over a different dispute entirely. Nobody in this story is comfortable, which leaves the question nobody has really answered yet. How do you put a border around something that is only software? A model sits behind a screen anyone can reach. Its whole value is the words it sends back. We figured out how to control the chips. The answers are going to be much harder. The chips were the last war. The answers are the next one.